even if we are less in number, what we do is so important because it is creating those rails to a more free society that will choose that kind of life with the sacrifices it may mean to choose that kind of life. We are pushed to the corner right now, and we have to rediscover how we find solutions in a pretty tricky time. That's the time we're in. Tough luck. Now what? Do you want to bitch about it? Do you want to take a black pill? Or do you want to find some solutions? Deal with it. Yes, CBDCs are coming. Yes, it's all correct. Now what? Where do you go?
This episode of the Free Cities podcast is brought to you by Veritas Village. Now, Veritas Village is an off-grid, self-sufficient place for people who are interested in living a normal, freedom-oriented life. You can reduce your reliance on corporations or government systems in your very own energy self-sufficient luxury home with its own water supply, located in a perfect climate to grow your own food. Communities use Bitcoin, and you can also buy your property with Bitcoin as well. www.ecovillages.life/free cities for more info. Please don't forget to mention the Free Cities podcast, and in the meantime, enjoy the conversation. Now, what I was going to say was, interesting thing, and I think you've actually spoken about this because I did see you mention it on your social media. Obviously, when we, from our last conversation, I've made social media clips out of what you've said. When I post them to TikTok.
Of course.
I know, but isn't that funny? Only yours, right? They get struck immediately. I have then every single time, whatever it is, complained. What do? You make a whatever that word is.
Yeah.
And they all get reinstated 24 hours later and then get no views.
I know, 0 views.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
You are
suppressed.
You've been marked.
I know. I am suppressed. I know that. People think I'm just saying it, but I know that it's real. Even on my Twitter with more than 100,000 followers. When I post some stuff that is a bit out there, I feel it the next day. I've got like a few likes here and there. And not that I'm chasing the likes, but it's just you see the anomaly. You see the difference between a normal day and those kind of days where I hardly get any views on my content. And that cannot be because my content all of a sudden sucks. I more or less do the same stuff.
Do you know what, though?
I'm being suppressed.
I have to say, though,
my Facebook is the worst.
Even though you're being suppressed, you're doing bloody well, Efrat. You are. I'm in awe of your...
That's why I continue doing public speaking, because those stages are allowing me to go up there and speak. So I do that. And my podcast, no one's going to close my podcast. Yeah. And even if Spotify censors me, even if I cannot upload my episode with Kevin McKernan to YouTube, it's on Rumble and it's on Substack and it's on Twitter, on Nostr, and it's everywhere I can have it. That's why I'm decentralized. That's why I'm this Hydra. Okay, push the button and close me here. I'm still there. It's like, fuck you. It's not about the numbers. My voice has to be out there. The people that I bring have to be heard. So I'm going to continue.
No, I just think, I think it's great.
Weird.
I was talking about you with Jeff just before you came, that what you've done well is community. A really important aspect of this whole thing is you've got the kind of aura that is good for community. Yeah. People like you, people want to support you, people want to get you out there, and whatever that is, that je ne sais quoi, you've got it, and it's brilliant. And probably, because we talk about this a lot on this podcast about how you defend a physical place, how do you defend a free city from socialists? One of them is community. You want the community backing you because they will defend you against the people that you don't like. You don't have to go up there and do it yourself. And those people, especially if they're a state, will look at the community and go, well, hey, actually, maybe we don't want to piss these people off. So maybe that is your superpower. I don't know.
Because, even though I've been shadow banned so many times, I've never been actually deplatformed. Which is an interesting thing because they could have and should have. They have deplatformed other people like me many times. But I have a suspicion that maybe because of the fact that they know I have such a good engagement on Twitter, if you look at my numbers, the engagement rates are way higher than normal. So people, they collaborate with me, they engage with me, they answer me, I talk to them, and the algorithm sees that. So maybe they have this feature saying, if they're above a certain engagement rate, meaning that they have a strong community, don't take them down, just try and get them suppressed. So they have never taken me down. They're just like making me silent.
And in a way, if they took you down, it could even be bigger than...
It would backlash on them because then it would make more noise. And I think this is, spiritually speaking, this is super interesting because the whole thing is about my voice. And them trying to silence me, and the technology helping both of us, helping them suppress me, helping me reach out to more and more people. And the thing I'm trying to do now with my little modest business, just to further stabilize this community you're talking about, is to monetize on my community, because I believe that if I create an even stronger bond with those people who want to support me directly, then I really have them as my back. You know, I already have that on Substack with a very small percentage of people that are paying subscribers and they want to support me no matter what. And once a month I go and I do a live session with them and they love it. And it's not much, but it's strong. And that kind of brand that you build for yourself, like that kind of personal brand, personal engagement, is a strong weapon in today's day and age.
Describe your demographic then? Who is it?
It's funny. It's mostly boomers. And the number one cluster is boomers men.
Oh, right. Oh no.
Yes.
You're an attractive older lady.
Yeah, it's like the 50 to 65, I think. But then no, I mean, it's between 30 to 65, which is like my strongest audience, mostly male. But I do have a lot of females relatively to other podcasters and public speakers because I'm a woman and they can identify more with me than with men. So I do have about anywhere between 25 to 35% women, which is quite a bit. Because I talk about money and I talk about like manly stuff, but they still follow me. And the US is number one in terms of countries, and then Germany. UK first, then Germany, and then many other European countries. And obviously Israel too, because I'm Israeli. The Israelis are making a real effort to follow me because it's mostly in English, but they want to kind of stay updated. The ones that are based and open-minded, which is not many.
Funnily enough, I tried to get lots of more women on the show because I end up interviewing a lot of guys, obviously. And I just did a run of, I think, 6 consecutive women. Now, here? No, not here. Published. I did an America trip, went all around America interviewing various different people. And I've still got like 3% women demographic. But that's and I don't care. I don't mind that. I get it. You're not that, women aren't going to be necessarily interested in building free cities and freedom and all that. Well,
they are and they will be. But it's because I think you're a guy. So like women look for other women that are speaking out because they feel a lot more confident when it comes from someone like them.
But my guests are women, though, or is that not enough? No, it has to be the other way around. Fair enough. But also, the more women you will have on your show as guests, the number will grow with time. Will it? Yeah, it will. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Okay. Because then your guests, the women, will share it with their circles. And yeah, it will grow. It will just be smaller. You are by far the most popular woman that's ever been on my show, though. 100%, without a shadow of a doubt. Like, it's not even close either. It's a massive increase in women and lots of other things. You know. I love the discussions with you. So thanks for having me on again. Talking of discussions, then. Yeah. What we're going to talk about. Let me just tell you one thing which I find interesting is I won't bore you with the facts, but I had this absolute catastrophic problem. And I've been fixing that, so I didn't actually get time to do much research because I was doing something else. But what I did do is I looked at I thought, let's see what you're tweeting about and what you're nostering about and what you're speaking about here. And weird, what you're speaking about here is almost everything. I used to be the kind of, CBDC Bitcoin girl, you know, who's like, but now you're talking about protecting freedom, monetary order, the institutional phase of Bitcoin, building communities. Yeah. It's like...
Yeah, because this is what Bitcoin did to me. It's like fucking opened my horizons everywhere. And the more I do this, and now I'm at number 90 episodes of my podcast, and the more people I speak to, the more I understand that because Bitcoin is money and money is the underlying foundation for our lives, then Bitcoin is everything. And so my job now is to bring life into Bitcoin rather than bringing Bitcoin into people's lives. That is going to happen with me or without me. Now I need to infuse as many topics of life that are interesting to me into Bitcoin so that people are aware of that. Because they are not aware of the importance of, not enough, the mental and spiritual work that they need to do in their lives in order to stay sane in those turbulent years that we're undergoing. That's one. They're not very well aware of the global agendas that are happening, which you and I both cover extensively. And we know how important it is to connect the thread between, climate and health and food and money, etc., because that makes you smarter and makes you more prepared. And obviously geoengineering, which is huge. And now I'm into weather space as well.
I spoke to...
Oh my God, dude, this is like a fucking mind blown. The weather space.
I did one with Daniel Prince.
Yeah, space weather, sorry.
And it's hilarious. And he even wore his little red glasses.
Right, right.
But I mean, he's playing up a bit as well. It's kind of like, because I said to him, are you getting pushback for this? He said, loads.
Of course.
People are saying, dude, calm down on the chemtrails and stuff. It's like not a good look. But he doesn't give a...
Oh, no. We don't give a fuck. We're in the same group of crazy Bitcoiners who are also in chemtrails and geoengineering. And we do a lot of work around it. And... you see, that's another thing I do. Well, I don't have a lot of time, but I want to touch on all these things because I feel they are so critical. One of the most fascinating topics for me today, which I am still in and I'm going to be forever, the absorption phase rather than the speaking out about it phase, is quantum physics and where it meets reality. So it's like where spirituality and physics meet. Where is earth and spirit meet? And what does it look like in life? And so I follow people like Federico Faggin. He's an Italian quantum physicist, and he's amazing. And I'm reading books and,
it's hard
UFOs, whatever.
It's hard to talk about that stuff, though.
Yes.
I don't know whether it's relevant here, but I did have a breakthrough moment in the last few days talking to particularly Max Hillerbrand, about property rights. And it's not going to sound like there's a connection here, but there is. And basically how you prove unequivocally that property rights, that property is a naturally occurring thing. It's easy to think that someone like John Locke created this idea that, like, if you have something and you add your value, do you know about the Lockean tradition?
I don't think so.
Most property rights currently legal spiel is based on the theory that of John Locke. He was a 1700s sort of philosopher. He basically said, if you have a piece of land, it was about homesteading. Right. If you have a piece of land that's nothing, if you add your labor to it, it becomes your property.
Got it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And in the US, then that became the homesteading law, 160 acres. As long as you lived there and you added your labor, you could. So it was a law.
Claim it as yours.
Right. Now, the temptation is to look at that as a law and go, okay, that's a man-made law. Mm. But basically, when you analyze Bitcoin, and this is going to blow your mind if you get it. If you look at the Bitcoin network, where there is nothing, if you add proof of work, you get property.
Mm-hmm. You claim it.
Right. Yeah. No, but you don't even claim it. You get it. It appears. It creates property. If a miner does proof of work, it creates property.
Yes.
And that is indisputable. You can't, that's like 2 + 2 is 1. You can't suddenly, it's not a man-made, that you discovered that law of life.
Yep.
And that's
that is beautiful.
And right now, and you go further, and I won't, because Max tried to explain it to me, and then I ended up looking like a zombie going, but he's written
a deep
book.
Thinker.
He is. He's gone further with various other things.
Yes.
The conclusion he had was the cypherpunks are so right about so many things, and I don't even know it. And they're so deeply right.
Yeah.
They're so deeply right about what freedom, for example. Freedom is right. Freedom is the right thing. It's not, you can prove it like you can prove that property exists, and stuff like that. And the cypherpunks are the ones.
And that connects beautifully to quantum physics and the quantum reality, in which freedom is the natural state of energy in the universe, because it's free floating and it's chaotic. There is no order there, and things are being pulled from the ether, and it's just all out there. And energy flow makes it make sense in a way to us. And there is so much that we don't know about how this universe and how reality actually operates. And we are full of ourselves. We are so full of hubris, thinking that we got it all figured out, but we are so far from it. And the more I learn, the more I understand, the more humble I become to say, wow, thank you for every day on this planet, in this creation, making me part of this huge, unbelievable experiment that is actually working somehow. And I hope we're not going to fuck it up. But I think what's happening to me in the last couple of years inside my spiritual awakening journey is that my intellectual ability is kind of expanding. Maybe it's also to do with the fact that I've been microdosing a lot on mushroom.
Have you?
And, yeah. And I feel like my capacity to hold more information is growing all the time, even though my age is growing as well, even though people say that the older you get, the harder it is. And the more I do mental, spiritual work and clear out more and more trauma, especially ancestral trauma, because I kind of feel like I've done most of the work with my own personal trauma from this reincarnation. And now I'm kind of looking at other stuff that my grandparents have been carrying or my other ancestors have been taking with them, even collective trauma, like the Jewish people and Israelis and things like that. Like the more I am deeper into that and able to kind of comprehend why we tick the way we do and why we are carrying all this baggage, unnecessary baggage, and then inflicting it onto others. And I am saying in my own little realm, I'm willing to put that shit aside and move on. The more intellectual mental capacity I have to then absorb new stuff and become aware of new things, and the more curious I become. And then the only problem I have is that I'm still bound to the time and space laws of this physical realm, and I don't have enough time in the day to absorb more content.
Maybe not. Quantum.
Well, yeah, maybe not, because then what happens is when I go to sleep at night, I work double as hard as I do during the day. And I remember everything. I'm fully present in my dream time. And I know what I'm doing. I know where I am, who I'm meeting, what I'm doing. And my mind even explodes even more when I wake up in the morning, because I wake up and I go, fuck, what just happened? Where did I just visit? What did I just do? And oftentimes the weirdest thing that is happening these days that people tell me in the morning that I appeared in their dream. I dreamed like you were there. You did this, you did that. I'm like, fuck. So I'm kind of, I don't know, time traveling, dimensionally traveling during the night. I don't know what I'm doing, but something is happening, and it's like
I've got to ask about microdosing. Okay. I've done my fair share of psychedelics, but I've never done microdosing.
Okay.
And I also haven't really done anything much in the last sort of probably 15 years. Tell me about microdosing. Like, how do you do it for starters? How do you get a microdose?
So the people that are making it, thank God they exist, are taking mushrooms, grinding them, turning them into powder, and then putting them into a capsule. Right. So you can just swallow it like any other pill. Okay. So it's a mushroom powder. That's what it is.
Have you taken psychedelics and really, like, properly.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? Like, is there any of that?
The difference is very evident.
Yeah, sure.
Well, when you do a mushroom trip or any other psychedelic trip, then, you're out cold, you're out there, you're doing your own thing probably in a different dimension, different realm. And yes, your consciousness truly expands and you see visions and other things, etc. But when you microdose, you're not going there. It's not tripping. You're still here bound to the laws of the third dimension, time and space. And the only thing that maybe changes is your frequency gets higher. So you may be instead of being on the third, fourth dimension, you maybe experience the fifth dimension just in terms of frequency, but you're still here. So your frequency goes up. It means that your senses may be more tuned. Your cognitive ability will sharpen. You will have more lucid dreams, which is what I've been describing. You may be more relaxed because the emotions and the feelings that we are experiencing in the third dimensions are very polarized. You know how we are tuned to have chemical reactions in our bodies that will trigger certain emotions and feelings. And it will start with the emotions, which will oftentimes be very polarized, meaning now I'm upset, now I'm sad, now I'm happy, now I'm bored, and all these things will be experienced to a very large degree, in a very real way. Like we will experience them as if they are controlling our body, they are controlling our sensations, they become feelings after they are emotions. And when you're microdosing, what I felt, and I don't know if everyone feels that, but my experience was that the emotions are a little bit more calmed down. It's like, it's not as intense. It's not as dramatic. That's the right way of saying it. Like it can still be, obviously you still feel it. It's not like you're taking an antidepressant and you completely suppress that emotional mechanism. It's there for you to experience, but you're more observing it and you're less into it, being very dramatic about it. So it's like, oh, okay, now this has happened. Everything kind of slows down. You can take it with a little bit less drama, which is always great for a human because we're very dramatic.
And how often do you do it?
So I don't do it all the time. Normally when I do it, it's for a series of about, anywhere between like 5 to 6 weeks long. And then there's a protocol of how you take it. So you may take it once a day and then 2 days and then 1 day break, 2 days, 1 day break. That's one protocol, I think. Don't quote me. The other protocol I did is like 4 days and then 3 days break, 4 days, 3 days break. And the reason why you want to do those intervals is because you want to let your body kind of integrate that experience from when you're taking it, and also want to be able to compare how you are with it and without it. And you want to do this for a long period of time. And you're not supposed to have any interruption to your daily routine. Like if what you do is write and read and talk to people, you're supposed to be doing that just the same, even better. So the first time I took it, I felt like I could read, I could write, but then, I could read, I could listen. It was very hard for me to write. And then I said, that's too much of a dose for me. So I lowered the dose because it's microdosing. It's really, really low, but my body is very sensitive and you have to listen to your body and know how much it takes. So I took less than that. So yeah, I don't need much.
You've done some podcasts during that time.
Oh, for sure. I've done everything.
Right.
Everything.
And it's describe the difference then. Like you are more acutely aware.
I told you, I think the bottom line is I just have a very strong intellectual capacity with it.
And does it stay?
Yeah. Well, did I become dumber after? I'm not taking microdosing now for the past... no,
but you've always seemed pretty
4 or 5 months. I have
to me,
Yes, I'm not a stupid person, but I've taken it 3 times over the last, let's say, year and a half for a period of about 6 weeks every time. So it's not like I'm doing this every day, all day. I haven't taken any the past 4 or 5 months. And I feel like that effect stays because this is the thing with psychedelics, which you can probably identify with because you've done it, is that once that key unlocks something in your consciousness, it normally doesn't go back to be the way it was before.
Yeah, I think
so. It's a little bit like that.
The reason I do my whole life trajectory has been because I did psychedelics when I was about 16, I think.
Right.
I don't think when I look at my peer group, my friend group, where I grew up, I went off. I was the one that didn't go and get a job in the city of London and do this and blah blah blah. And I think, in my case, it was very visceral. The first time I did it, I was different from that point onwards. At 16, I can remember it. That it's like the first time you see, if you do a proper dose of, say, mushrooms, which, well, oh no, I think we were doing acid probably, but whatever. And you notice something about yourself that you didn't notice before.
Yeah.
You can never forget that. It's always there from that point onwards.
Right.
And it's like that, you know, and depending on what happens to you, I mean, there's lots of different types. Mushrooms for me were always something I did for fun. Actually, a couple of times in Thailand, we did it ceremonially, but and fasted with it and stuff like that. But really, it was something that was part of a funny night out or something.
Right.
But it was other ones that I took seriously,
right,
and used them as ways to discover myself.
Absolutely.
But not for a long time though. I think now I feel
we have the habit of going back to our old ways.
But mine's quite simple. I feel that I have you ever had a bad trip?
I don't think I did. I had a really hard time on my first night of ayahuasca, but I don't call that a bad trip.
Okay.
I think it's part of the game.
Did you ever have that experience where you thought, I want this to stop, it can't stop, oh my God, I'm spiraling, and it's, you know.
Yeah, I think during my ayahuasca it was like that. I was like, fuck, this is hard. This is tough, and it's not stopping, and I'm going crazy. Yeah. And yeah.
Maybe it sounds like you were pretty cool with it. And I think I predict
I didn't have any anxiety.
I would be pretty cool with it. But I have noticed that the pressures of modern life sometimes show me the beginning of that same journey, if you see what I mean. So I one time, I don't know, about 6 years ago, I had a very important speaking engagement, and there was a lot of people there. It was over 1,000 people standing in front of me. And I got up on stage, ready to go. And I'd had malaria previously, and I'd been in hospital on a drip. So I was exhausted, I was knackered. I got up on stage and I was standing there, and suddenly I knew nothing. I didn't even know what I was looking at and something. And I went, and I felt, I can feel it now, I can bring it up.
Anxiety.
I felt, oh my God, what the hell? These people are looking at me. I don't know who I am, what I'm doing, what I'm doing. And the only thing I could do was I said, fortunately, because I just had malaria, and I had literally just been in the hospital, I said, sorry guys, I'm just going to go off stage and have a glass of water, because I told the story of having malaria, and I walked off.
Yes.
And I went to the thing, I put water over myself, and I came back and I was fine. But the point was, that's the beginning of a bad trip on acid that you can't stop. I just managed to stop it at that point. I could feel it. It's like I am in a situation which I don't want to be in. I'm trying to get out and I can't. And I've followed that in a psychedelic experience to the point where there was a single thread connecting me to all that is. Nothing else. So and outside of that thread was complete despair, which is the bottom of the spiritual bucket, or whatever you want to call it. It's like, have you ever felt despair about something?
Yes.
Right. Now imagine the most extreme form of despair you can, which in my case came from being disconnected from everything that was. And in that one trip, there was literally a thread that was infinitely small connecting me to everything that is. And the despair was really big there, and it was ready to engulf me. And that's like, I worry about going back there. I really do. Because, you know, at that point, that was many years ago. That was like, I was in my 30s, maybe.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
But it's a scary place to be, because
I understand.
In the despair is you living in a mental asylum. I really do think so. That, or at least that's
maybe
what was stopping
people.
Well, but maybe for me. And I've got kids and a family. I don't want to go there.
I understand.
But I do want to explore. I'd love to be doing
microdosing will be the easiest thing you've ever done in your life, because you have done psychedelics. So
But no, I'm talking about even when you mention ayahuasca. You know, I'd love to do
but the spectrum and ayahuasca and microdosing, right?
Yeah, but there's so much to see. It's like I'm a traveler, I'm an explorer, I'm an inquisitive person.
Yeah.
That world is there for the taking
if you
choose to.
It is, but you need to trust that you can do it. You need to trust yourself. You need to trust that you'll be strong enough to hold everything. And yes, while you were talking, I remembered that I did have one time where I was on something and then I felt like, spinning up. I'm about to lose it. And I had to lie down and breathe and get myself out of it. And that then reminded me of how I used to faint. And I have fainted quite a few times during my life. And it's funny because when you say fainting, people attribute it only to a physical thing. You faint, it's like something happens to your body, you blank out, and then you come back, and it's like a physical thing. But I believe, and I have no proof of it, and I would love to research more about it. That would probably go into the list there that you've done about fainting, because I believe that that maybe fainting has also a spiritual aspect to it. And there is something spiritual or mental telling you that place that you have described. You have reached that place right now. You don't want to be here, or you don't need to be here. We are going to pull you out for a second from that consciousness so that you can reset everything. We will take care of you. We will guide you. I don't know who we is, right? We will guide you. You'll be guarded, trusted, loved, protected, and then you'll be back. Because every time I had fainted, and it started when I was 16, I had an experience of going outside of my body. Mm-hmm. And the return back was the only thing that I can remember that I was out of it. Because while I'm out of it, I can't remember anything. But then there's this split second, and it may just be, it's split second in linear terms. Who knows how long it is in quantum terms, but it feels like if I have to stretch it, it feels like I'm returning from somewhere, sometime back here. Like a little bit like in those movies where you see like, you're returning back to where you are. And then you open it and it's like, fuck, where am I? What just happened? And it's all black and weird. And then there's these people. And so the sensation during fainting, I believe, extends further than just a physical sensation. I think there is something more to it, something spiritual and mental that we're experiencing.
It's funny, if you'd have been born in India or Nepal, you might at this point be surrounded by people throwing flowers at you and stuff, because I'm sure I know instances of this. Children who had this experience who then become vilified in a good way. They become, because this is a spiritual experience. You know, a 14 or a 16-year-old girl keeps fainting.
Yeah.
And then starts talking in tongues afterwards, and then starts doing this and starts doing that. I'm sure I've come across a few origin stories.
Dude, you have to send some material about it.
No, but I think particularly in Nepal, I think there are some Nepalese, very young, not bodhisattvas, but, you know, like enlightened people who, not that I'm saying you're necessarily enlightened, don't let it go to your head.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
You can let it go.
I spoke about humbleness. Don't worry.
But it is one of those things, you know. Did you ever? No. Did you come back from that stuff and have any new insights, or was that you were too young thinking about it then?
I think I was too young.
It makes sense.
I think I was too young, but the last time I fainted was 3 years ago. Before the ayahuasca ceremony, we were doing kambo. Do you know what that is?
Is that the intense one, the DMT one?
It's the frog thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Back of the frog.
Is it the frog or is it the snake venom thing? I'm sorry.
How long did it last? That's a good way to work it out.
A few minutes.
Yeah, that's the DMT one that basically projects you straight into oblivion, and then you come back quite quickly. Right.
So they do the three for guys. They do the three dots here. Yeah. For me, it was on my leg, but they did it, and it was so painful that I slowly started feeling like I'm losing it and I'm going to faint. I knew I'm going to faint. I always know I'm going to faint. So I sat down waiting for it to happen, and then I blacked out. And they told me later that it was about 1.5 to 2 minutes that I was out. And they did not touch me. They did not try to move me or put water on me. They did nothing but hold the space around me, the shaman and the other guys that were there. And then when I got back, I was like, I fainted, right? I told them. And they were like, yes. I said, okay, but I'm okay. And then I think what it did, because you're asking if I ever had an incident in which I came back and felt something has changed. Something has changed. And I think it cleared out some of my despair or hopelessness about humanity or about the world. Because I went into this whole journey, whole experience with the question of, why do I even need to be here? Because if I have already understood that I am a soul in a human body, I am an eternal soul, I'm always going to be here, and I am contributing to this thing, to humanity, whether I am here or not here, and all this evil stuff is happening, and people are doing all these horrible things, especially to children, which was killing me at the time. Why do I really need to stay? Why can I not just go and it wouldn't make a difference? And I was really despaired. And that thing it brought me back, not with a new understanding or with a new cognitive thought, but with a clear body, I think, to kind of restart something and revisit, relook at life again. And then later on, when I did the ayahuasca, it showed me stuff. And I think I was kind of clear and ready to accept.
So when you fainted, does that mean you don't recall the experience at all? Nothing. Of taking the drug, I mean, of the effects of the drug? You didn't experience that. You just know you brought something back. Because normally when people take that...
When I faint, I am out.
Right, okay.
I'm not here. It's as if I'm dead.
Right, but you didn't come back during the trip. Because it lasts about 7 or 8 minutes, right? So
I came back and I was still in it. But the problem is when you faint physically, you feel like a truck just hit you. So you feel really, really heavy, super heavy. And very everything is very condensed and contracted. So I don't know if I had experienced, maybe that's what Kambo feels like. I don't know. But that's what I felt.
Do you know Yoni Appleberg? Yoni?
Yes, yes, I know.
He did the same thing.
Okay.
He'll tell you that gave him a phenomenal experience. In fact, I interviewed him. I interviewed him 3 days ago, and we spoke about it. So
I'm going to listen to it.
I'll point you in the direction.
Absolutely.
But he really has come back a different person.
Oh wow!
He did the 4, ayahuasca. Then, I forget.
Okay, all of it.
But anyway. What have you got your computer open for?
Yeah, I've got some stuff to talk to you about. I mean, some thoughts I've been having around privacy, and also I don't know if you wanted to touch on what I talked about at the conference, which was the musical chairs of monetary order, which
is doesn't explain a lot in the title. The musical chairs of monetary order. So
who said it needs to explain?
No, because then I could work out what you're about to talk about.
Well, you can just watch it.
Well, start where you want. Privacy is obviously a very important part of what we talk about on this podcast. And privacy is inherently necessary for freedom as far as I'm concerned. So,
right. So I've been having thoughts about privacy lately because it's one of the reasons why I'm in Bitcoin. It's one of the reasons why I care about human rights so much. And I feel like the more work I do, the more content I create, the more conversations people like us have, the more privacy becomes a forbidden concept. It becomes something we talk about that gradually is leaving the allowed sandbox. And it's wild because it's privacy. It's not like we're talking about chemtrails or geoengineering, right? We're talking about privacy. And why is it becoming such a dirty thing to talk about? Why is the concept of you sharing something confidentially with someone else or just with yourself is so controversial? Why are they normalizing the whole concept of no privacy? Why when you tell a normie, I want privacy, they tell you, what do you have to hide? So hold on, dude. Did you forget the importance of having a door in the bathroom when you go in? Did you forget why you're writing a journal to yourself? Did you forget why you're telling someone a secret? This is all around privacy. All these things that we are taking for granted in our lives are ingrained in the principle of privacy. And now, when all these wacky states are deciding to put all these laws onto us, which is something we've talked about in our previous interview where we talked about the Agenda 2030 and the crackdown on information, crackdown on freedom of speech and all that stuff. This is all part of the agenda. And now we're onto that stage where the laws are actually being enacted and you can't even say what you want to say on social media, or you have to identify your age or who you are. And so if you look at, that always makes me go back to the documentation and show everyone that they are actually violating their own rules or wards. And if you go back to 1948 and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights signed at the United Nations by most of the countries that are...
That was my daughter again. She always decides... I thought I'd turned this off. Sorry.
It's okay.
There you go. Go. Sorry. Alice, I love you.
So most of the countries have signed it because it just made sense to them after the Second World War to show that they are humane and that they respect us. And one of the things written there in Article 12 is no one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence.
Sounds good.
Sounds pretty good. And I've stolen that from Kali that have done a whole presentation about privacy now at the Baltic Honey Badger conference. And it's a beautiful presentation that he has done, and he's developing freedom tools on Bitcoin Cashew, for example. And when we use Bitcoin, governments can't stop transactions. And that's something that is pretty... everyone knows that. Every Bitcoiner knows that. Most normies don't know that. And that's why they're so afraid of Bitcoin, because they think that it can be co-opted, it can be hijacked, it can be controlled. Yes, it has its challenges and shortcomings, but it is very hard to stop transactions once they have occurred on the blockchain. And in order for you to stop something that has now been put onto the blockchain, you have to work really hard to try and stop that. It's like almost impossible to take it back, because once the nodes have validated it and there's another block on top of it and another block and another block, it becomes impossible to take down that tower that has been built on top of it. And in any other form of money today, the ability to stop you is so simple, and it gets easier by the day, especially with CBDCs soon coming into our lives. And so if you only compare those two things, the fact that with Bitcoin, you can't really stop, and with any other form of money, you have to make a big effort, then it already gives Bitcoin a big advantage, because the fact that this is your own private business, you decided to do it, you don't need permission, you launched it out there, people don't have to know who it went to. It is private in that sense, unless you are identified with a KYC, blah, blah, blah. Still, it's going to take a huge amount of effort for whoever wants to stop you, and it's going to take a big amount of effort to know who you sent it to and why, etc. Whereas in today's world, fiat world, those things are super easy. So the whole paradigm shift of preserving some kind of power, sovereignty, and privacy on the blockchain, on the Bitcoin blockchain, is super easy to understand. And the whole paradigm shift of you are guilty till proven innocent, that is today's normal life, instead of you are innocent until proven guilty, is something that we have to stop and think about, because this is happening and we're not paying attention for that happening. The other thing is, once you start using Bitcoin, start using the blockchain, it shifts once again more power to you, because you can then launch transactions in a permissionless way. And for them to stop you, they have to put a lot of effort. And so you're giving them the hard work rather than, you have the easy work. You just have to do it. They now have to do a lot of stuff to try and stop you. Even if they arrest you and try to confiscate and threaten you and coerce you to give them your seed, and all that takes a huge amount of effort that they have to do. It's on their side. And as the saying goes, they cannot arrest us all. They cannot enforce this on all of us. This is going to be super hard to do on the Bitcoin standard. The other thing is, if you look at in the physical analog age, it used to be that privacy was expensive to violate. You had to go spy over someone. You had to intrude their privacy in order to spy on them. You had to install some equipment. In the digital age, it becomes so much easier and faster to violate your privacy. There are technologies to do that, and they are becoming more sophisticated and more cheap as we go. AI is now spying on everything, on everyone, all the time. So violating your privacy in a digital age is super easy. Now, encryption, when you encrypt your communication or you're encrypting your transactions, your financial transaction, you are reintroducing the equivalence of doors and walls and curtains in a digital world. So you're putting back again another layer, another buffer there between you and anyone else that wants to violate your privacy. And that alone is, and I'm not even talking about those wonderful privacy tools that all these great hackers and devs are developing. I'm talking about just the simple fact of you using an app like Signal to communicate, or you using Bitcoin to transfer money, or even Lightning that is even more private than the blockchain, than on-chain transactions, and obviously Cashew, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really easy to reclaim back sovereignty and privacy just by virtue of using those tools today. And so, yeah, you basically, I mean, those were the 2 points I wanted to make about privacy. I think we are trying to go, I mean, not trying, but sometimes we go very far to how can we reinstate privacy and sovereignty in the digital age. And it starts with very simple things, as in introduce encryption back into your life, your digital life, and you've already created those curtains and doors and windows that are there to protect you.
I agree with you. I mean, I would say the arc of understanding that I've been on over the last few years has always been about that. I just didn't know it at the start. It's the end point. And I mean, every single person I've interviewed here has talked about that in a different way, or from either a very simple, these are the tools to use way, or from the ideas behind it and why privacy is important and why the bad guys, let's call them, are trying to remove it, which is very fascinating because what? You'll be pleased to know that is my daughter contacting me on Signal, but it's done it again. I've just turned off my phone and it's still working.
Maybe she's got really something important to tell you. Maybe
she hasn't. She hasn't. Okay. She basically is sending me videos of her riding her horse, almost certainly.
That is pretty important.
Yeah, but it's not, because they're like, well, no, it is. And here's an interesting, while we're on the subject, because last night, my wife's here, but she's out in a sauna at the moment. And we always get videos when we're away. And my daughter set up her phone inside the field, a horse field shelter. It's like a place where the horses shelter out in the field. Yeah. And videoed herself for about 35 minutes, basically riding round and round, tacking up, putting the stuff on the horse, blah, blah, blah. And me and my wife, we were lying in bed last night watching it like this. And I said to her, I'd never do this in real life. Like, sometimes I do sit at the top of the field and watch her ride, but I would never watch her so much. As soon as I'm looking through a screen, I'm like mesmerized by this. And she went off the screen for a while and we were both like hanging on and then she popped back in again, like right in the distance. And we were laughing about it, that how interesting it is that you watch intensely when it's over there and it's on a screen, but in real life it's boring sometimes. I don't know what that. I don't know whether there's
well,
a
it
need to learn
has to do with the blue light coming out of the screen too. It is pulling you, to stay alert to it. It's messing up with our brain.
Okay, that's fortunately.
I
spoke to Princey all about that. For ages. Going back to them, the people we all know. They don't want you to have privacy.
Right.
Have you ever, I mean, I've got my own answers to this, but what do you think is that? What's driving this requirement of a certain group of the world trying to normalize? In my case, I think one of the ways they're using is guilt over privacy, like you said. But why is that happening? Because I grew up in a private world. First time I ever used Facebook, I was telling someone earlier today, it was weird. I was like, "Ooh, this is really intense. Like, what am I telling everyone?"
It's all connected to, everything is connected to everything. So I think that it's happening because the end goal is to have full control over humanity in someone's sick brain. In someone's dystopian sick brain, they actually think that this is possible. Naturally, if you're looking at nature, it is not possible. They will never be able to control everyone, everything, how the universe works. But they think that. Some crazy, tiny percentage of those psychopathic, elite class that is up there thinking that they're smarter than us, making decision for us on how we're going to live our lives, they are pretty convinced that they can control everyone. And the reason they need to control it is because of the underlying fabric of humanity, which is fiat. They need to create some kind of structure and order to the world that they'll be able to manipulate and navigate in a way that they think is right. Now, I think that they believe in eugenics and that they want to kind of rearrange the number of souls on this planet and where those souls are organized and how and to which extent those souls are operating in a way that is complying with how they think that we should be behaving and complying. And so it's all interwoven, but basically they need a metrics system that will create a certain structure, a certain order. And in order to make that work, they need to control how we are behaving in our lives, how we are communicating, and if we are communicating secretively and confidentially, and they don't know what we think about and what we organize without them, then they don't have control over it. So they have to make everything visible. They have to make everything exposed so they can be aware of it so that they can control it. Okay. And if they can control it, then they can influence what kind of narratives, what kind of thoughts the collective has, just like Bernays said, when was it, the beginning of the 1900s with his book Propaganda, we know better than these people, we have to control how they think. So we are going to dictate some narratives, and those narratives will help us organize society. That's what they need to organize society in a certain way. And they need to maybe on the way depopulate a little bit because we're now too big, too many of us, and some of us are also not functioning very well. Too many of us are waking up and we cannot be controlled. So because we're waking up, we need to also be suppressed, silenced, maybe push us out of this smart city into the rural area where we'll make less problems for them. Like there is a lot of stuff that is happening, and they are trying to juggle a million balls in the air. Because it is chaotic, it's becoming more and more chaotic because the attempt to control society, humanity, human lives, the natural force of life is inherently insane. It is impossible to control nature. And they are trying to control nature. And what I do in my presentations, my public speaking, is just try to show what they're doing. Because I believe that by me putting all those receipts out there, showing those short video clips of them talking their nonsense plans and of them trying to control the way we behave and what we do with our money and what we do with our speech is just so ridiculous. Then even a normie seeing that going, oh, that's a little bit too much, isn't it? That they go a little bit too far. They're self-sabotaging.
You don't live in the UK. You'd be surprised.
I know that many people don't see it. I know.
Of the UK.
But I know. But the thing is, this is my role. I need to do this and put it out there so that the ones that are primed to pay attention will pay attention. And I know it's not everyone.
It's undeniable now that you just need to take a look at the UK. Something you spoke about a long time ago, and some people have been speaking about since the 80s, or since the internet was even really a thing, is a time will come when you will have no privacy on the internet.
Yeah.
That time is pretty much here.
Yeah.
We're living in it.
It's here.
I saw on the BBC even news this morning that Wikipedia is now battling the courts in the UK to not be classed as a website that you need to show your credit card to get onto.
Right.
And obviously, this is another step in the stage.
Yes, it is. 2 years ago, I've read the suggestion of the bill that was being written at the time by the Democracy Institute in Israel. They're so democratic about regulating the internet. And that suggestion to that advice that they gave to the regulator was the same kind of advice that any regulator around the world was given by an expert in democracy and free speech. And basically they were categorizing websites according to size, built on traffic and engagement rates and different types of metrics. And they were saying the ones that are the largest, like the biggest platforms, social media platforms, Wikipedia type of websites, they're the ones that have to be regulated fully. And then the second tier will be semi-regulated. And then the smallest ones, we're not going to bother with them because it's going to be too much of an overhead to try and enforce anything on them. So the moment you get big, you are in their net. They have to enforce and regulate you. It's about size. And the reason why it's like that is because they know that that's where we go. That's where we opt out. We, as in the minority that understand what's going on and is in tune with this, is opting out and using other tools like Nostr, etc. But most of society, the numbers are there. They are flocking into the mainstream large websites, and that's where they want to capture them, and that's what they want to control. So it's no coincidence that they would not bother with a Nostr or with any other. I mean, Nostr is a protocol, so they can't, but you know what I mean. They will not bother with the small ones. So, and they know what they're doing. They're designing it for a reason in that way. And today with AI, everything is automated and it's becoming even easier to control and to just do that automatically. They don't even need anyone to actually look at websites and decide which is a big one or a small one. Everything is automated.
Yeah, but that's the thing I worry about, because that is a new part of the equation. AI will trend all that stuff to zero in cost, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a big thing to think about. I mean, it really is that AI will be the thing that encaptures you in the end, because... And
it will also be the thing that will save you if you decide to use it to develop freedom tech.
Go on then. Yeah.
I mean, know. I'm not the one to talk about it. You had all these smart guys here.
I know, but all right.
You know, White Noise, they are developing private messaging on top of Nostr. It's a tough cookie to crack, but they're trying to do it. And if we have that on a completely decentralized protocol that cannot be stopped and you can have private messaging on it, game over. Beautiful.
Well, in one sense.
I mean, game over. If they have good marketing, it's game over.
No, but I mean, yeah, but it's not, this is what I worry about. And you can see this already in Bitcoin. You can see this potentially in all the other things that we're talking about, is if you're privacy conscious,
yeah,
that's great. But if you're in a minority of privacy conscious people, you're not private because you stand out like a sore thumb. You're the person not being private. You're the person, being private. So people can see you. So
what do you mean people can see you? If you're being private?
Yeah.
They can see you?
If you are like...
Or if you're calling out to be private.
No. If you're actually being private. I'll give you an example.
Why,
a VPN.
Yeah.
VPN makes you private.
Okay.
You can detect a VPN.
Yeah.
If everyone uses a VPN in the world, it's great.
Yeah.
But if only the private people use it, 20%, 10%, right, let's attack that 20% of people, right? Problem number one is you stand out if you're looking for privacy. Problem number two, something like Bitcoin. Sure, Bitcoin, I can spend Bitcoin with you, nothing you can do about it. But... what can I buy with Bitcoin without giving away my details? Can I buy a car? Yeah, I'd have to find someone that wanted to sell me a car. If you were in a country where they wanted to sell me a car, did they have to declare who's the new owner? How did they pay me?
There always be things that you will not be able to consume or purchase without identifying yourself. But you can always convert peer-to-peer to the local fiat currency and use it. So
yes, but you could be, when you do that, you're identifying yourself.
Not necessarily. If you're doing it peer-to-peer, you don't have to be.
Okay, but there's a law. Efrat, be realistic, right? There's a law in that
everything you do has to be KYC'd.
No, there's a law in your country that states that if you want to drive a car, you need a license. If you want the license, you have to...
In the case of a car, as I said, you'll have to comply if that's what you want. If you want a car in that... country, you'll have to comply.
House.
Yeah, so you'll have to comply.
Right.
Or you move to another country that doesn't ask you to do that. Dude, I can't change reality. This is reality. But the question is, what are you going to do about it? That's what I told you before. That's the point where I feel like people misunderstand what we're here to do. Life is going to be full of intersections like this from this moment onwards for the next at least 5 years, at least maybe even a decade or two. Those intersections in which you stand and you go, oh, I'm fucked. This is how I have to operate if I want to live a normal life, or a life that is less risky, or a life that is more normal like everyone else. And if I want to do what I want to do, I have to take a bigger risk, or I have to not comply, or I have to think outside the box, or I have to be very creative and go actively look for solutions that are not offered to me on a regular basis. You are going to find those situations more and more. The question is not, how do I deal with the situations? The question is, how do I spend my time effectively right now to go and educate myself on what exists so that I can be prepared for the next 5 to 10 years with the best solutions at hand. And people don't do that. Instead, they stop here and they go, oh, I'm fucked and Bitcoin is hijacked. It's like, come on. There is always a way. The question is, how much are you willing to educate yourself, and how much are you willing to take a risk or compromise ease and convenience and normality in order to be a little bit different, or to have different kinds of conversations with people. We are pushed to the corner right now, and we have to rediscover how we find solutions in a pretty tricky time. That's the time we're in. Tough luck. Now what? Do you want to bitch about it? Do you want to take a black pill? Or do you want to find some solutions? Deal with it. Yes, CBDCs are coming. Yes, Tether may be helping some bad things to happen, but they're also doing some good things. Yes, it's all correct. Now what? Where do you go?
I think I love what you're saying, of course. I find though, and I want other people to know what you've just said. But I think when you track back to the heart of what you're talking about, you basically is the realization that the state is the enemy.
Yeah.
Right. But that is a long way to go for most people. Long way, especially in my country. Maybe in a country where you're bumping up against the state a lot.
In my country too.
Right. That's a big ask of people, because it's such a fundamentally held belief that this is how society works. You know?
I'm not asking that of everyone. As I said, I'm putting my stuff out there. The ones that are primed will pick it up. we will be on the same wavelength and frequency in our radio stations, and they will pick it up. The ones that cannot hear me, the ones that I trigger, the ones that hate me, the ones that write all these horrible comments to me on my whatever YouTube channel or Twitter. It's like, be my guest. I'm so used to that shit, and I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm not talking to you. If you're triggered by what I say, if I rug pull you because you hold a worldview that is so reliant on your national identity or political identity or religious identity or whatever other type of identity that you have, then I'm sorry, you don't have a strong enough center to believe in who you are in yourself and trust that you are an eternal soul and you're protected and loved by the universe and you're here and you're going to fulfill on your mission here. You are being shaken by what I'm saying. That's your problem. It's fine. We don't have to talk. You can take your thing and do it elsewhere and go open the mainstream TV or radio and listen to them. Instead, don't listen to me. I'm not for you. I'm not for everyone. I understand that. I acknowledge that, and that's okay. But I am fully in my role, in my purpose, in my mission. This is what I'm here to do. And I'm talking to the ones that can, need, and should hear that information right now, and that they understand that the state is not their friend, and that they can acknowledge that if the state is against them, it's not the end of the world.
Something I've noticed recently, and it's anecdotal, but I suspect it's true, is, I'm really interested to hear your take on it. Israel is in the public sphere is getting vilified again, right? And it appears to be, the people say, oh, if you were alive in Nazi Germany, you probably would have been a Nazi. And people go, no, I wouldn't. And it's almost like that same meme is playing out again. And you're being offered a chance to choose whether you actually would be. Because if you go online now, you see that that is happening. It seems to be happening again, that you could, if you wanted, give in to this idea, they're doing this, they're doing that, blah, 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 which is obviously what happened in Germany, what happened in blah, blah, blah. Now, what's your take on that? You're an Israeli. Is there truth in that? Is it a lie? Is it real? Are the Israelis bad? Is the leadership, So
here's the thing. If I answer your question right now in the way you framed it, I'm fucked, because you just gave a parallel to Nazi Germany.
Well, do you know what I mean, though? It's.
I am not saying you're not right in terms of the behavioral and psychological, sociological trajectories that have taken place during that decade that have led to the rise of the Nazism. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that is so explosive and sensitive for an Israeli audience to hear, or even Jewish people that would listen to this.
But to
hear that parallel? And I believe that parallel was even true during COVID, when you saw people rising against their own brothers and sisters and family members and neighbors because they were afraid of their own well-being. And so they were willing to sacrifice them and adopt them in or whatever, yell at them, try to coerce them, etc., etc. So that's the same type of behavioral pattern, and it's the same type of road to totalitarianism that we see over and over again. And all it takes is to create such a shocking event or an emergency or a crisis of some sort for people to believe that, because it's so extreme right now, we have to justify an extreme measure. And that logical fallacy exists in order to justify for people the way they will behave the next day. And people in Israel, on the most part, I'm sorry for everyone who I am now triggering with what I'm about to say, are propagandized and brainwashed, mind-washed to completely not only accept what the state is doing, but to actually demand the state to go even harder, to go and, kill another tribe and take over their land and continue what they're doing. No, just a little bit more, and then we wipe them out completely, and then we hold back on our fortress and reclaim back what's ours, what always have been ours and have been promised to us in this book by this God. So it's a very tough situation to be in. When you're there, you are not really feeling the salami tactic of the brainwashing.
The what?
Yeah, we call it in Israel the salami tactic because it's like you slice another piece of the salami. So gradually you inject another narrative that will justify something. And then on top of that, you build another thing and another thing. It's just a gradual way of building propaganda, really. And that's working, unfortunately. It's working in Israel. However, having said that, there is a large chunk of the population in Israel that is resisting the war, that is resisting the current government, the current regime, and that also acknowledges that some members of the government are completely crazy fundamentalists, extremists, and they are. In fact, some of them were outlawed a few years ago, and Benjamin Netanyahu brought them back in order to raise their electoral power. So they're completely nuts. And they're in power, and in charge of the security in Israel and in charge of the finance in Israel. So they're really extreme figures, and they're in power, and many people are resisting it. However, even though there is a big group of people that is resisting what's happening, I mean, they're vocally against what's happening, they are not understanding that the whole political sphere is a scam and a joke and completely corrupt, and they are still calling for another politician to come and replace that one. And while they're all corrupt, the left and wing are all super into this. So there is no real immediate solution to what is happening right now in Israel. I do think that if Netanyahu goes home, it's better for everyone, but what will come after will probably not be so much better. Not right now anyway. Most people are not aware inside of Israel. They're not aware of how the world sees them and Israel, and they are not aware of what's happening in Gaza because the media has a blackout over it. Yeah, they don't know. They see some things and they are aware of a fraction of it, but not the whole picture. And they obviously are not aware to very different opinions so that they can exercise some critical thinking and make their own minds. They are being fed with what to think on the most part. There is a little bit of room to navigate inside that sandbox, but not much. And if you're completely out of it and you're looking at things from a zoomed out perspective from space, you clearly see what's going on, but you have a lot of compassion to the person that is inside of Israel because they have no clue. Forgive them for they do not know.
Do you think you've lived there for a long time? I know you're out on the road at the moment.
I've been out for 3 months now. I'm going to visit twice in the next 6 months, but I am out for now. I don't know where I'm going to live next. And right now I'm nomading and I'm happy about it. But I just know that my patience to be physically in Israel has maxed out. I don't want to be there anymore. Right now, it's very hard. The energies are very dense. People are super propagandized, and it's very hard to even find people to talk to. It's very hard. And plus, all they do most of the time is talk about that stuff that is happening there. So it's very hard to open yourself up to other things that are happening. And so, I don't know. And I just feel like I have the privilege because I've been preparing myself for this time for a few years now. So I have the privilege of taking my own bank with me and taking my suitcase with me and just living an international life for now until I decide where I want to settle down.
How do you find that? Because, we've talked deeply about digital nomadism on this podcast. Is it opening your eyes to things? Because normally when you do it in real life, suddenly you start noticing all the things you hadn't taken into account when you were dreaming about it or when you were thinking about it. And suddenly now it's real. Is it a viable way to live, do you think?
It's a viable way to live for sure. The question is whether you have the stamina for it, because it takes a lot of strength to withhold it for a long period of time. I think obviously it made me retrospect and reflect over the very basic principles of life, such as building a community and needing social bond and connection with people. And what is the role of friends? What is the role of love in your life? What is home? What do you call home? Like all these big philosophical questions, which we take for granted because we live in a place, we have home, we have love, we have all these things around us, and we don't question them. And so I've been traveling, just pondering over these principles and discovering that a lot of the answers are within. You know, it's going to sound like a cliche because most people say that, you know, it starts inwards, and if you have love within, you have love everywhere. But it's so true. And if you have a home in yourself, you have a home everywhere. And funnily enough, that's what I've been experiencing everywhere I've been going. Every place I've got to, all I experienced was a warm welcome and love and affection and inclusiveness and community. And it's not like my national and religion titles are going to give that to me right now. Not the fact that I'm Jewish, not the fact that I'm Israeli are supposed to open doors for me these days, but people don't care. And that's why whenever I'm speaking to someone from home, like Israel home, and they tell me, oh, but aren't you experiencing anti-Semitism or any critical voices to Jewish people, Israelis in specific, and aren't people talking to you all the time about the war and about what Israel is doing? And no, I mean, they're curious. I answer questions, but it never is a hurdle for me, and I never feel hate or resistance. I mean, except for online. Online, people are very mean, but in real life, I don't experience any of that. And from time to time, I see some protests for Free Palestine and all that. It's kind of becoming like a normal thing now, but it doesn't make me afraid, or I'm not walking around in the world thinking that someone's out to hurt me or to take me down. And I'm not afraid of death. So if I die, I die. It's not a big deal. But it's been a very cool experience to nomad, because I'm 45 years old and I feel like I'm doing what I haven't done when I was 20. And it develops large quantities of courage within me. And it develops, it kind of makes me a better person, I think. It makes me a better listener, a better, I don't know if there's a word for it, but someone who senses the environment very well. I've got very good intuition, and I sense things and people and situations, and not in an anxious way, but in a very alert kind of way. So I'm very in tuned with where I am, what's going on, and it's very easy for me to find my way in a new place again and get used to stuff very quickly. So I think it's a really great muscle to develop, to do this at least once in your life.
And maybe even talking about community and the state of the world and moving forward, you could argue that the communities that we are creating are decentralized and actually are parallel. You can't just create a community necessarily in this world and expect to be left alone. You can create a parallel existence and actually walk through the cracks in the other system. And I'm in two minds. I like both. Like, we're trying to create fortresses with protection.
Right. Yes.
But sometimes you have to acknowledge also that most people are not in that situation.
Yeah.
And actually, you need to live between the cracks in the paving stones in order to live a successful life. And I think that's what a lot of these tools are for. I think the particularly the digital tools that we're talking about, they help you do that in a massive way. And you know that because you live in an alternative network of people, just like I do. It's different. It's a world that most people don't know anything about. It's funny. Honestly.
And it's incredible. It's like a hack no one discovered yet.
Yes.
Like this Bitcoin community around the world is the most amazing community of people that I've ever met. And obviously it's very different from one place to another, but what connects everyone is the passion and drive for freedom and sovereignty and the respect for people's existence and people's private property and private need. Is like it's really beautiful.
You know what it is?
And I've been hosted in the most amazing places.
It's the freedom community, actually. It's just
it is.
No, but it's just that Bitcoin's I think,
it is
the first time we've had a tool that works for kind of libertarianism, for freedom. It actually works. Like lots of other, when you had the ideas before, it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
I mean, it can work, but Bitcoin really is a tool that works. And so it's not really the Bitcoin community. It's just
Absolutely.
the liberty, freedom community who acknowledge this is the best tool to use now. And it's really, I agree with you. It's like,
I think the main difference between people who quote unquote categorize themselves inside a freedom community versus people who say I'm in the Bitcoin community is that those that are saying I'm in the Bitcoin community and they're not the NGU, the number go up people, they're the freedom oriented people. They're the ones that have been willing to be curious enough, humble enough, and put their ego aside and say, there's something new here that I can learn from, that I can develop myself into. And the ones that are still, quote unquote, stuck in the freedom community only and haven't taken the step forward into Bitcoin is because their ego is in the way. That's what I think. And I've met a lot of those people over my traveling the last 2 years, especially the last 3 months. And some people that you and I both know, and they're really well known in the freedom community, that they are so primed to get Bitcoin because they're freedom lovers in their veins. Like they're in their cellular existence, they're freedom oriented. And then I talk to them about Bitcoin and no, let me rephrase it. They talk to me about Bitcoin because they are curious. I don't want to talk to them about Bitcoin, swear to God, because I know they're going to give me all the normal FUD and all that stuff. But they start talking to me about it, questioning me. I answer them and I see the wall that they are banging themselves against, which is the wall of ego. And I'm like, dude, you're good. You're getting it. All you need to do is just say, it's fine that I didn't buy it before. I can still do it now. It doesn't make me a lesser person. It doesn't make me an idiot. It doesn't make me anything. I can just join the game, and there's no let go of ego and there's not let go of pride by doing that. You're still the same smart person you were before. Now you only just have Bitcoin. That's the only difference. And they're not letting go. They're like, hang on this tree, and they don't want to let go. No, but Roger Ver says it's hijacked. No, the government can control it. I'm like, hear me out. It's okay. You can take the first step. And then the only thing that normally works with these people is when I pull out my phone and they pull out their phone and I get them to download an app and I zap them with like 1,000 sats and they get it within a minute. A fraction of a second. They get it. And then they look at it and they go, fuck, this thing really works. I now have Bitcoin. I go, yeah, I told you. Said, but this is, yes, it's working. So that was my rant about the freedom movement, which I love so much. And I want all of them to join Bitcoin. That's my audience on my podcast.
That was a beautiful
rant.
Freudian slip. No, Freudian slip.
Oh, the minute?
The spending it.
And then it takes a minute. No, it doesn't take a minute.
Sometimes if you're hosting your own node and you're using Lightning.
Yes. Yeah. But I've been using Lightning for 3 years now in all my trips everywhere overseas. And it almost, I think there was maybe 1 or 2 times where it failed me. Out of the hundreds of times I've used it.
It is most definitely.
It's amazing.
It's the easiest way to make a payment. Great example. This morning, trying to fix my drive, I'm on ChatGPT getting all the answers, and it says you've reached your limit. You need to pay €23 a month. So I thought, right, cool. And then I press the button and whoosh, the page pops up.
Yep.
How many fields do I have to fill in? Just show me a QR code.
Exactly.
I just pay, like Molvad VPN. You know, I use that one. You don't even have anything.
Or silent link for an eSIM.
You just have a thing, you do it, you pay. It's gone. It took me about 20 minutes to sign up for ChatGPT using my credit card. It's like completely unnecessary.
I know.
Anyway, look, we've been going 122. Have you got to go?
I have to go, I think, because I have a flight to catch.
You do have a flight to catch. Let's leave on a good note then.
Yes.
Let's talk about we can talk about the future, but you're kind of already saying that. Why don't we, what are you absolutely stoked about currently that really probably everyone else needs to know? Leave us with something that is hope. There you go, hope. And you're a hopeful person, I know, because
I am.
You've just explained to me what you're doing in your life, and it's amazing. It's lush. You're walking around, it's traveling around the world, speaking to people about what you love. It's funding itself in some shape or form. This is the dream. You know, this is like this. People used to shed their possessions, get a walking stick and bare feet, and walk the road. That's
exactly what you're doing.
Right, exactly. But you're doing it in the 21st century, which is very, very, very different.
Very different and very digital. And thanks to this digital world, I can do both. I can work and travel and make a living. And I'm just so blessed, and I'm very, very grateful and very humbly grateful. Hope to me is knowing that we're going to see a lot of awesome, great people and talents joining not just the freedom community, but the Bitcoin community. Like, we're going to get an explosion of talented people coming into this space to help us build alternatives. Privacy alternatives, freedom technologies, monetary technologies, things that will help us communicate better, things that will help us transfer information and value between people in a more efficient way and in a more private way. And while the old world is collapsing, its systems are collapsing and are self-sabotaging themselves while trying to shrink the control and tighten the belt on people's, voices and freedoms and privacy. We are doing the opposite. We are building things to proliferate freedom through the digital age. And what gives me hope is for more and more people to see that digital is not a dirty word, that digital is not necessarily bad or evil, that digital can be using the same type of mechanism that is trying to control us to free us up. Digital world can be a digital freedom world. It's possible. So when I see that, and I see that so many more people are not with us, and some of them will join us thanks to people like you and what you do, and thanks to my podcast, thanks to so many other wonderful people that are working on this, it fills me up with hope, because I know that even if we are less in number, what we do is so important, because it is creating those rails to a more free society that will choose that kind of life with the sacrifices it may mean to choose that kind of life. And people will join that way of living, and it will be glorious.
Come and join us. Efrat, thank you. A brief but invigorating conversation. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks
I know you're going straight to the airport. Yes. Have a good one. I don't know where I'll see you next. Probably.
You're such a sneaky one. You come into all the right places.
I think it will be 2026. Do you know where I'm definitely going to next year?
Where?
What's it called? BTC. The one that everyone's going. Finland.
Helsinki.
Helsinki.
So no, they call it BTC Hell.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Which is a really good, yeah. But
so next year you're going to go there.
I think so. Well,
okay.
You have to go to something new each time.
Yep.
I did Prague last year. This year's funny budget. But Bournemouth certainly, I think.
One that I really like. I've been to so many conferences. I just want to do like one shout out, but I'm not getting anything for it. But it's just to show the Bitcoiners how many great conferences there are out there. I think that adopting Bitcoin El Salvador is really one that is worth going to, because you really feel the grassroots there. And around that same week, you also have the Mi Premier Bitcoin Unconference, which also is being done, I think, once a year in the US. But that is also like completely free floating, like the shape is just being formed as you get there when you speak to the people. So if people like conferences, like this one is one that I really recommend.
I love it. I spoke at the first adopting BTC ever.
Where?
In El Salvador.
In El Salvador.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It was.
They also have it in South Africa.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you've got to make the pilgrimage anyway. Everyone knows that. But yeah, choose conference time because there's always loads of things going on around that time as well. And
I'm super curious to get to Africa. I haven't been to any African conference yet. And ABC is happening in December, African Bitcoin Conference. I think it's in Mauritius this year, but I'm not planned to go at the moment. Maybe I will. Maybe.
It's not Mauritius. It's like beaches and stuff. Anyway, look, you've got to go. Thank you, Efrat. See you next time. Good luck with everything. Love what you do. Happy to have you here. Thanks for talking.
Thank you.